So here in one of my other sketchbooks, this is my swatch book, or my layering of media, mixed media, like how it all plays together book, and colors and so forth. I've done a swatch page here that I'm then going to try the different try the Neocolors over the top of. I think of the Neocolors as sort of like going on top rather than underneath. So we're going to try that and see how it mixes with all these different mediums. So we have markers here, some of which are permanent and some of which are water soluble, and the Copic, which is alcohol based. The pencils that I use, I'm missing a dark one here, and we'll come back to that. I've got some gesso. This one here is clear gesso over the collage, black gesso, watercolor, Liquitex acrylic markers, Posca marker, acrylic paints. I've got the flash paint, some golden acrylic, Studio Lusseau, got Turner acrylic gouache, and then the Japanese Turner acrylic gouache, and then just a normal gouache, so water soluble gouache, acrylic ink, India ink, and then I've got some more collagey bits down, but here I have different mediums over the top. So I have soft gel matte, Liquitex gel matte, Matisse clear sealer, Gordon's acrylic glazing liquid gloss. This is a Liquitex gloss medium and varnish. I've just grabbed a few. Whatever mediums that you might like to use, you would want to test what you have, the materials that you use. So then I just have my Neocolors to use, and I also have this swatch down here of Neocolor that I've laid down that I can then try some of these mediums over the top of. So let's see how they want to play. I'm going to try both dry and wet. So start over here. It goes really well over this. Let's try a lighter color one. No, it didn't show very well, did it? That's interesting. Goes over that quite well when it's dry, but didn't want to go over when it's wet. That's on the Tombow. Working okay over the Ecoline wet. It's sort of, because this is a water soluble, these are water soluble markers, the wet going down is just activating the darker blue underneath. You can see it's done a little bit there with the pink, but because the blue going over the top is stronger, it's not getting lost. Okay. Let's do them all dry first so that I keep my... Look how strong it went over the Copic. Not so good over the Stabilo. Right. Okay, get some beautiful results with the darker color over the lighter water soluble ones. Let's take a brush and see what happens when we wet them. Yeah, the ink in that darker blue is just dominating that. Here we go. And over here. The Copics won't lift because they shouldn't lift because they're not water soluble, they're alcohol ones. Okay, now I don't have my darker luminance, but we'll test what we do have. Okay, so It's just going down dry. It's gone over a little bit creamier over the Holbein. I don't think it's that that's a bit darker. I think it's just the texture of the pencil itself. Okay, let's try the blue. And wet. It goes down beautifully over all of those. Let's try on the gessos. Should take it beautifully. The clear gesso's got quite a grit. It's not my favourite to work with. I know some people love it. Right, let's try wet. And a darker colour. Let's go in dry first. It's really nice on the gesso. Okay. Now we shouldn't have any issues going over the watercolour. Just make sure I'm still on camera. Okay. Dry. Put that one there. Let's try the darker colour. It goes fine over watercolour, as you would expect. And then wet it a bit. When you wet it on the watercolour, you're also going to be lifting some of the watercolour underneath, so you get a bit of a mingling of the colours. Got a slight bit of blue here, slight bit of the pinky colour coming into the blue here, making like a violet. Okay. Let's see how it wants to go on the top of these. Let's come in with yellow. Over the Liquitex markers, goes down really well. A little bit more of a drag on the Posca with this colour. There's wet. Quite a different result between the Liquitex and the Posca. Let's try it in the dark. Okay, let's try one we can wet. Yeah, it just goes on top of that Posca one quite differently to the Liquitex markers. You just got to, oh, those ones ran together. You've just got to play and see what happens. All right, over the flash paint. This is quite a flat paint. The gold on acrylic is usually not quite so flat, but this looks flat. The Lasso is flat. The gouache are pretty flat. So you get that nice texturing coming through. Let's try this end. Try the blue on this Lasso. Okay, now the two acrylic gouache will stay put when they get wet, but this one should lift a bit like the watercolors. What color will we try on that? Let's try the blue. Ooh, nice coverage with a little bit damp. So you can, if you don't, you can so quickly cover something with these if you put it down and you're not keen on it, or you just want to quickly cover a big space, very quick with these, to get a good coverage over a large area. Let's see with the water. Can't really see with that over there, but you can see that the gouache itself activates and the two mix together. Okay, let's try some red over these. So we have the acrylic ink, big coverage, pretty quick, and India ink. Try wet. Let's try adding some water. Go, lots of different effects. They go beautifully over most materials. A little bit different, but they still work. Right, so over the different collage, so for your mixed media pieces, go beautifully over that, and that, and that, and that, and that. Let's try wet. This nice feathered line. And let's just try adding some water to one of those lines. You can put your collage down and seal it with one of your gel medias and come and work over the top of it with your crayons, either in with your clear gesso or one of your matte mediums, and have this sort of watercolory effect over the top of your collage, which is really lovely. Okay, so here I have a little swatch. It's not a very big one, so I'm only going to do a little bit of testing, but we'll see what these materials want to do over the top of it. So just a felt pen. It goes over relatively well. You can see it's skipping in bits because the surface is quite waxy. Fine line. Okay, let's try the Tombow. Again, same thing, skipping a little bit. Try the brush end. Goes over pretty well. And let's try the Ecoline. Oh, that goes down nicely over the top, doesn't it? So that's the Tombow Ecoline. Some of these are surprising me. That's why you do. That's why you play. Play. The Copic. Oh, that's really interesting. It's just like soaking in. I don't know if you can see that. It's soaking in between the gaps in the wax. It's like it's not really going over the Neocolor so much as sinking into the bits. You see how it's kind of, you get this like broken waxy bit, so it's falling into any gaps. You may just want to clean it off. I don't know whether it's good for your materials, but using your materials is what's good for them. Okay, let's try some pencils. This is the Polychromos. This is like this pen here. That's what it doesn't look like that there, but you're still getting some. It's really interesting. I might actually do that here too. That's the Tombow. Did I write that down right? I forgot what I'm doing. No, that was the Ecoline. Okay, that's the Tombow. That was that one there. And this one here is that one, which looks pretty similar. And then the Copic looks quite different. Okay, then we've got pencil, we've got that one, we've got this one. This one's not going over nearly as well. That's that colour. And we have Luminance. Goes over quite in bits. So they will go over a little bit if you want these beautiful textures, and if you want a little bit of unpredictable variety. But look at all that, have fun. Okay, a little experiment, lots of different results, play, so many options. You could try it with paints over the top as well. Which I've done with other materials there, but try putting down some Neocolor, and we've tried it with these markers and some pencils. But what about the Neocolor with the various paints on top of it? That's another page, another experiment. Well, my little experiments over the top of the Neocolor tube here got me curious, so I'm moving on and testing how things layer on top of the Neocolor too. Who knows what's going to happen, but I'm going to have a play and see. So let's give it a go. I'm going to start with pencils. And I've got the 3 brands that I use the most here. So let's start with the Hollenbein. Getting a broken line here. And that is the Polychromos. Picking up as much as it's putting down. You can see this color here has mixed with the yellow, and you've got this sort of greeny color coming through, like they're mixing with the yellow to make this sort of yellowy blue. Not much on the dark, of course. Okay, let's try some of these markers. Start with the Tombos. Picking up some color there. So it does pick it up, but then you need to clean off your Tombow. Darker colour going over better. Ecoline. Ecoline seems to melt it a bit because these are water soluble, so they're picking up that colour. So you might want to really think about whether you want to get that pigment onto your markers. These pip pens go over put. I really like the effect with the Copics, but again, it might be not good for your markers. All right, moving along. Just a normal fine liner. I never have much luck with these at the best of times. I imagine it's just going to do nothing. They never work for me. Picks up a little bit still. once grabbed it coming back. Now I've got now I've got that blue. So some things are going to go over well, but we'll pick up and activate the darker colours particularly and transfer them. It's going to take me a while to get that off the bottom of there. So you might want to be careful with what you're wrecking. Works interestingly over the light colours a lot better, of course, but some really beautiful textures. I really like it with the Copic markers, and then some of these pencil textures on the lighter colour are really really lovely. The Poscas seem to go over quite well. These thinner liners not picking up as much. Right, now to try some paints with them. Okay, let's see what we can do with some paints on top. Starting with some gouache. Quite thick and going on a bit watery. Definitely picked up all that blue. I'll just try one of these acrylic gouaches. Bit of water. I'll try some ink. I'm keeping them in order so I can label them. Some acrylic paint. And a golden acrylic. So depending on how much water you have, you can get a little bit of coverage there. This was thinner, didn't have the same coverage. Okay. Let's try some gesso. So here we have, sounds like quite a runny gesso. That's already picking up all the colour. But a thicker, heavier bodied gesso may work more like some of those acrylics. Clear gesso. You can use it to sort of seal it if you want to work back over the top. But it will activate it a bit. And a black gesso. My black gesso is a little bit dried out, so I have to add some water to get it, which is not going to help it go down well. Comes over pretty well. And a random selections of mediums. Get my brush clean. This one is the acrylic liquid glazing gloss. Have I got any? Activates it straight away, of course. But if you can put it down gently, it will help seal it. As we saw in the earlier video, you can use it to paint with. There's another one, gloss medium varnish. Conceal it or pick it up and paint with it. And again, you can kind of seal with this, but you've got to lay it down carefully, but it will also activate it, allowing you to then pick it up and paint with it. So there you go. Now you can see why it is recommended that the Neocolors kind of go on the top and not underneath. You can kind of seal it down, but they will move, they will activate. Pretty much whatever you put on top that is wet will activate it. It may sit on top depending on how thick it is and how much movement it has. I do like this sort of the alcohol ink, the Copic marker, because that's a really interesting effect, but not good for the markers. Okay, there you go. Play with them all, see what you get.